Hey there, Lincoln here from BoyAcademy.org. Today I want to talk to you about SBVCF, Subversive Capital, the SPAC taking Caliva, Left Coast Ventures, and Jay-Z as the creative director public to make the parent company the largest cannabis company on the market. In a previous video, we discussed everything you need to know to start investing in the company, and we walked through the entire investor presentation from the company. So today I have more for you. We've been fortunate enough to get Michael Auerbach, the founder and chairman of Subversive Capital, to join us in an interview to discuss the future of the parent company after this merger is complete later this week. And he has a lot to tell us about what the company has in store and why they are targeting California first and how they plan to move across the United States to dominate the cannabis market. In this interview with Michael, we had a chance to ask many questions, over 10 questions, to dig deeper into what makes the parent company a special cannabis company that is uniquely distinguished from the rest of the market, and why he believes that they are going to be the ones to continue to win as the market consolidates into larger players. So today there are many players in this cannabis industry, but in order to win, Michael and team believes that there's going to be more mergers and acquisitions, and they are kicking off that race. So we're going to hop into this interview in a few seconds, but before we get to that, if you enjoyed the video, like the video below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts below on what you think about Subversive Capital. And if you're investing, let me know how much. And if you're not, let me know too. I'm investing. I have over 100 shares of this company at this point, but I do plan to add more as the years go on because I believe that the cannabis industry is going to be explosive as more states in the United States continue to legalize weed, starting with New York next up. And of course, if you want to help the channel grow, get more access to me, get direct answers to your investing questions, then join us over at patreon.boyacademy.org. You'll be able to engage in our Discord channel where we share knowledge and discuss the stocks and SPACs that we're all investing in to help one another build long-lasting, sustainable wealth together. There are now over 80 of us in our Discord channel, and we help one another source new deals by sharing news and rumors so that we can all get in early on those investments. And we collaborate on doing research into these companies so that we're making wise investment choices. And this week, we've been discussing IPOE CCIV, the SPAC that might take Lucid Motors public. And we've all had a chance to do our research and get in really early on those deals before everyone else finds out. And of course, a few weeks ago, we all got in early on Triteris when it dropped in price because one of our patrons shared it in our Discord channel so we can all look into it and get in before everyone else found out. And as I become more bullish on new companies, I do my research and I share with our patrons first because they keep the channel running. So I say all of this because as more people join the Discord channel, it becomes more valuable to all of us because we have more brains to put together to make better investments. So if you're interested, I hope to see you over at patreon.boyacademy.org. Now let's hop in. Hey Michael, I'm Lincoln. I am the founder of BoyAcademy.org, and I want to say thank you for joining us on this call today. I'm very bullish on SBVCF, Subversive Capital, and I love everything you guys are doing. When Rachel reached out to me to cover this, I was very much interested because of, one, the cannabis industry is going to be big in the future, but I also appreciate what you're doing with the social impact, equity impact side of things with Shawn Carter, Jay-Z, and Roc Nation, all of that. So I look forward to hearing more about the company and your vision for the future. So we can start with yourself and how you got here, what your journey looked like, and what you see for. Well, then we will get into some questions from there.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, and appreciate you being bullish. I'm also very bullish on the name. So, 16 months ago, my partner and I, we raised $575 million in a SPAC for the purpose of acquiring one or more U.S. cannabis assets with a real focus on California. So that's what we've done. We've concentrated on California as the tip of the spear in the U.S. cannabis economy. And so, over a period of that time, we evaluated over 100 different companies. And we settled on two of the leading vertically integrated operators in California, Caliva and Left Coast Ventures, as well as expanding our relationship with Jay-Z and bringing him on board as our chief visionary officer, and signing an exclusive agreement with Roc Nation, giving us exclusive access to their artists and their athletes as we develop additional brands in the coming year.
That's great to hear. one of my investment criteria or criterions is vertical integration. So that is very important, and that's something that I would love to hear more about. Why you chose Caliva, Left Coast Ventures, and then of course Monogram. What do you think each of those bring to the table uniquely?
Yeah, sure. So with the merger of Caliva and Left Coast Ventures, so we identified Caliva as basically best in class operator, best management team, very good D2C platform. They had ended their partnership with Ease and were able to replace that revenue quite quickly. And then coupling that or merging that with Left Coast Ventures, which is a company that has been familiar with us for a couple of years now, really that sort of distribution, low cost cultivation, and access to 20 to 25% of the state's distillate. Left Coast Ventures owns one of its holdings is they own 100% of SVC.A.U, which is responsible for 20 to 25% of the state's distillate. And so, as we see what this platform looks like, now we can take that distillate and insert it into our own brands and capture just additional margin, making it almost impossible for anybody else in the market to compete with us on price.
Yeah, definitely. And can you just speak to Monogram and what you expect Jay-Z, the creative director, to bring to the table?
Sure. So, Monogram was initially a joint venture between Caliva and Jay-Z himself. They've spent the past 18 months building that brand. It was released just a few weeks ago to great fanfare. Multiple SKUs have sold out, almost instantaneously. And the brand is doing quite well. They just dropped a new strain a couple of days ago, and people are quite excited about that. It's really just an exceptionally well done brand. And Jay was intimately involved in every aspect of it, from the branding of it to the announcement to the videos. These videos that they've produced and put out there, as well as the strain and the way the pre-rolls are even rolled and the paper is used. And so we're really excited about that. When we first met Mr. Carter, we said that we wanted to buy his 50% of the joint venture and bring him on board as our chief visionary officer. And so that's how we've integrated Jay into this transaction, as not only integral to the success of the company, but really the tip of the spear as he builds out our house of brands.
Thank you for that response. So I'm really curious. SPACs get a bad name apparently from the big guys out there, Wall Street. So I'm curious why you chose to go with a SPAC rather than a traditional IPO process.
Yeah, I mean, so my partner and I, we thought about running a public markets fund, sort of, Q1 or Q2 of 2019, as the market started to settle down and re-rate all of the stocks. And what we really wanted to do was to create, and I've wanted to do this since I started investing in cannabis since 2012, is really create the first 100-year company. And to do that, you need a pretty sizable balance sheet. The IPO process just wasn't something that is available for companies, wasn't available to companies going into the summer of 2019. And, technically really isn't available to the companies now. We haven't seen any sort of true cannabis IPOs in Canada for over a year. The RTO market is starting to pick up a little bit in terms of reverse merger, but the SPAC vehicle is the best vehicle to bring a company public and provide them with enough cash on the balance sheet to basically get them through the end of prohibition. And so that's why we chose the SPAC vehicle. And I would say that SPACs used to have a worse name back in the day. But I think there's something like 90 S1s with the SEC right now for SPACs. And about half of those sponsors are, well-regarded sponsors that are backed up by tier 1 investment banks.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure if you know, but I'm a big fan of SPACs. What I preach is that it gives the small guys a chance to get in early on these deals, which is great for us retail investors. So yeah, it's great that you went through the SPAC route.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you support it.
Yeah. So question on the name TPCO, the parent company. I'm interested in why you chose that name.
So I didn't choose it. Jay-Z chose the name. So the parent company, he wanted to name the company. He didn't want to be sort of tied down to sort of the traditional cannabis company names with green and flower and leaf and those types of imprimaturs. And the idea was to build, since we're trying to build the first 100-year company, or we are building the first 100-year company,
Yep.
what's a name that sort of captures the generational framework that we're trying to provide. People are going to be talking about this company in 50 to 100 years, and it should have a name that basically says that it is the actual parent company.
Yeah.
So this is the parent company for this industry, and that's what the name means.
I like that. So I think you touched on it a little bit, but I just wanted to get more of your thoughts on what you expect Jay-Z to bring as the creative director of the company. Of course, he brought the name, so what else do you expect him to bring? Of course, he has a celebrity, and he obviously knows how to build brands. So I just love to hear
I
your
mean,
thoughts on that.
that's really it. I mean, Jay-Z's brand playbook is, without a doubt, the best brand playbook in the market. What he's been able to do with every brand he's either started or associated himself with is just, unparalleled. So thinking about, how he turned around Puma, thinking about, Ace of Spades, which most people don't even know is Jay-Z Champagne, the
Yep.
#1 spirit champagne brand, and growing. And that brand playbook is, you never see Jay-Z sort of like, buy Ace of J, right? Like it's Ace of Spades.
Yep.
And you see LeBron James, when he
Mm-hmm.
wins a championship with Ace of Spades, the name Ace of Spades is in dozens of hip hop lyrics. It's in dozens of music videos. It's in Beyonce's, Disney Plus movie. You can't pay for that kind of brand placement. And so we'll start to see the brands that come out of the parent company have the same type of, cultural zeitgeist as Ace of Spades has within the cultural lexology. So we're super excited about getting Monogram as part of the popular culture and the cultural movement, and our other brands as well.
Definitely, and very good points made. Just having that much celebrity, and then of course the content, the content piece, marketing it's pretty much free marketing when you have someone like Jay-Z building your brand out for you.
100%.
So yeah.
So it's not, yeah, it's basically earned media.
Yep.
We can't advertise on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but we can do, what we can do is basically take the playbook that he's used with Ace of Spades and Duce and Live Nation and Puma and other brands, and really hit it out of the park. So we're excited about the partnership.
Exactly. So just getting into Jay-Z more, let's talk about the social equity side of things. Why is this something important to you, the company, Jay-Z? Just more thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I've been an activist my whole life, fighting for things like racial and social justice issues. So when we raised the money, but also thinking back to when I first started investing in cannabis back in 2012, 2013, I've always been trying to, see how this industry could begin to rectify the wrongs of prohibition, and particularly rectify the wrongs in communities of color, which have been disproportionately affected by the prohibition of cannabis and the war on drugs. Now that I've got this strong balance sheet, I feel like I can actually do something that's not just, investing a few dollars in philanthropic dollars here or there. So we're going to actually invest real equity. We're setting aside $10 million at first to fund an off-balance sheet venture fund, to invest in entrepreneurs of color in the cannabis industry. We'll continue to make those investments by setting aside 2% of our net income every year, to continue to invest in entrepreneurs of color, specifically in the cannabis industry. And then what we'll end up doing is not just making the investment, but providing them these entrepreneurs access to our platform in terms of preferred pricing on flower, distribution, access to retail and DTC, access to banking services or investment banking services, fundraising services. So we're not just going to be writing checks. We're going to help trying to, dismantle some of the structural racism, not just in corporate America, but specific to this industry, whereby, Black people particularly have been targeted disproportionately for cannabis use as opposed to white people. But this industry is primarily white, and we need to
Yep.
change that dynamic, and we need to change it quickly.
Exactly, and that's a great mission you have there. So let's just talk more about the platform play, because I know you just said that you're gonna give these entrepreneurs a part of your placement on your platform. So can you tell me more about just that play? Why that's an important part of the deal, that you have this platform that other uh, distributors can actually use to reach their own customers on your
Yeah,
platform?
so you can imagine, like, we're the most robust vertically integrated platform in the state. And so from seed to sale. And if you're a young entrepreneur that, is developing a brand or is one of the social equity applicants and about to, start your own retail, we'll be able to fill that store up with brands, with product, provide access to delivery, white label it for the particular retail establishment. So we're going to do everything in our power to be able to amplify and accelerate the success of our applicants for the social equity fund in any way that we can.
Yeah, but also for other businesses outside of the equity fund. Do you expect to do the same for anybody else who wants to come and say, hey, I'm starting out this new cannabis brand, but I don't know how to do marketing or distribution?
Yeah, we're mostly going to concentrate on the companies that we make investments in, and concentrate on our own platform for the parent company. We will be doing a bunch of M&A. We've got a sizable balance sheet and a public currency, and so we're set up to consolidate and dominate the market. And so we'll be in the market come Monday with some M&A deals.
That's great. Thank you again. And now let's just talk some more about California and
Sure.
why California? Why is it such a big deal that you start there?
California is the most important market in cannabis, not just in the U.S. but globally. It's certainly the largest market in the U.S. and it's the largest market globally. Sort of the the cultural relevance that plays to the plant is outside of New York and California. There really isn't a cannabis culture in Minnesota, Florida, and Michigan. No offense to my fellow states. And so as we look to the end of prohibition, there will be interstate commerce, and so cannabis will be grown in California, Arizona, and Nevada, and the brands are going to be coming from Southern California and New York. Those are the brands that are going to win, and so whoever wins California is going to win cannabis. Nobody can name a dispensary brand in Detroit or Massachusetts or even Florida. It's our brands that are going to be the most successful brands in the U.S.
That's a very good point. What do you think comes after California? I know you said New York is gonna follow, but how do you see the legalization working out? Is it gonna be one at a time, or is it gonna be per state, or is it gonna be federally? And when do you think that's gonna happen?
Yeah, so the next state we would look at is New York, as they go adult use. In terms of our expansion, but the end of prohibition is going to happen in stages. We'll first get guidance from the Merrick Garland Justice Department, similar to the Cole Memo, which will allow the listing agencies to be comfortable with cannabis companies listing in the U.S. And then we'll get some legislative action. And now that the Democrats control, both houses of Congress as well as the White House, we'll get something more progressive than states and safe, particularly with some social justice elements involved. But probably something a little bit less progressive than the MORE Act. And we'll get that within the first 12 to 24 months, which will, officially end the prohibition of cannabis. In terms of interstate commerce, while I would love interstate commerce to be included in whatever bill is passed in the next 12 to 24 months, I do think there'll be one extra step because allowing states to regulate is fine, but allowing a commodity like cannabis not to travel over state lines is going to be a violation of the Commerce Clause and will need to be fixed.
Yeah. I am curious though, why would such a restriction be in place?
What do you mean?
For the interstate commerce?
Well, I mean, the MSOs have spent, hundreds of millions of dollars building duplicative assets in Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, Massachusetts, upstate New York, Vermont, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Washington, and Colorado. And if there's interstate commerce, a lot of the value of those assets goes to zero. So the MSOs definitely have a big lobby in Washington, and it's not in their interest in terms of their investment dollars to have
Yeah.
interstate commerce. Unfortunately for them, there's no way around it. And so, that's why we chose California as a state to deploy our capital, as opposed to building a multi-state operator that eventually, more than 70% of its footprint is going to have to go away.
Yeah.
That's not a recipe for a 100-year company. That's a recipe for, major restructuring in the next 2 to 5 years.
Exactly. And they will have to go through M&A route and to actually compete.
Yep. I mean, some of the MSOs are great. Like, I have a huge amount of respect for Columbia Care and GTI and Trulieve. Like, they've done a fantastic job, but they're going to be selling our brands on their retail footprint, in a couple of years. And selling our input as well, whether it's our cultivation or there'll be a couple of cultivators. I have no desire to, be in the pick and shovel game. This will be grown like a commodity in Arizona, California, and Nevada. And then eventually it will all be grown by the equator and, shipped like any other commodity.
Yep. So talking about cultivation, let's move to Canada and the market there. Just want to hear more about your thoughts there, and also why you can't list on the major U.S. stock exchanges at this moment.
Yeah, the only reason we can't list on the U.S. exchange is because the Cole memo was rescinded and the exchanges got nervous.
Can you tell me more about that for our audience?
Yeah, sure. So the Cole memo was a memo drafted that under the Obama administration that, basically spelled out sort of a set of guidelines and rules that if states and operators, abided by them, then the federal government wouldn't intervene in the state cannabis economies. It wasn't perfect, but it definitely was something that was workable. When Jeff Sessions became Attorney General, he rescinded the Cole memo, which made everybody very nervous. So all of the progress that the listing agencies and the banks started to feel was moving in the right direction, just came to a screeching halt. And so the Justice Department of the Biden administration knows that how important the Cole memo was, but also knows that there were things to it that need to be adjusted. And so we're confident that they're working on adjusting those, and will put out guidance so that listing agencies and state regulators will begin to feel more comfortable about their own programs.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for going through that. So right now we have a bunch of competition maybe not a bunch, but competition in Canada. So I love to hear more about that with Tilray and Aurora Cannabis, and just how does the parent company fit into that market?
Yeah, we're not operating in Canada. So the Canadian market is the Canadian market. We're concentrated solely in California.
Okay.
I'm obviously an investor in Tilray and sit on the board of the company. I was one of the seed investors. And so Tilray and Aphria announced a merger. I think it closes sometime in the next couple of months. And their concentration is on Canada and Europe. And they'll move into the United States when it's federally permissible.
Got it. So you have no plans to expand into Canada at all?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Sounds good. Thank you. So I see that you're debt free, and I just love to hear more about why that's important, given that your competition likely is not going to be debt free.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we have well in excess of a few $100 million on the balance sheet when we close on Friday, you should double that, because we'll have no debt as well, just in terms of our ability to operate. So we'll have the strongest balance sheet in cannabis, regardless. I think one of the reasons why a lot of these companies stopped concentrating on growth and started concentrating on EBITDA was because they needed to service all of this sort of crushing debt that they took on the balance sheet when sort of access to free capital evaporated last summer.
Yeah.
So we definitely will have a competitive advantage with the debt-free balance sheet.
Thank you for that. So I have only one more question, and I just love to hear your closing thoughts on why you think that you're gonna just the last thing that our viewers should take away from this video, this interview, why you think that the parent company is going to succeed and win, well, take the most market share. So your 3 points or something that you just want to be the last thought.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to your viewers is that, the time to buy our stock is now. We've got another day and a half of trading before the redemption period closes. And so being able to buy our stock, for 10.15 is not going to last for long. This stock will significantly rate on Friday. And then in terms of judging us based on our success, we'll start submitting quarterly reports coming into Q1 of this year. And we hit our targets as a combined company for 2020, $185 million in top line revenue. The highest revenue generated combination company in the state. We're projecting 330 plus revenue for 2021 in organic growth. But the size of our balance sheet and our public currency, we're going to do some significant M&A and consolidation in the market. So that number is going to be significantly higher. So in a year's time, when I come back onto your program, or sooner if you'll have me, you'll see us as the clear winner, not just in California, but in the U.S.
I appreciate that. I look forward to all the growth after this merger closes. Definitely would love to have you back once this is complete. Actually, I have one more question.
Sure.
Do you have any concerns about being on the OTC when it comes to the volume of your stock?
No, actually, as we've seen over the past few days, the Canadian exchange and the OTC certainly can get volumes if there are eyeballs on your name. So we've traded more volume than all of the other MSOs that are in the same boat as us since we announced in November, other than maybe Cura. Obviously we'd love to be on a U.S. exchange, so we have access to Robinhood and Webull investors. That'll come, but I'm completely satisfied with our ability to provide liquidity to our shareholders through the volumes that we've seen over the past few days.
That's great. So I appreciate you being here, Michael, and thank you, Rachel. I know you're on the call for setting this up, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with you again. Whenever you want to come back on, you're welcome. So Great. We'll figure out in the next one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Michael.
Have a great day.
Cheers. You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that's the interview. I want to say thank you again to Michael Auerbach, the founder and chairman of Subversive Capital, the SPAC taking Caliva, Left Coast Ventures, with Jay-Z and Roc Nation Public to create the parent company that will lead the way in the cannabis industry. And I want to say thank you to Rachel Perkins-Osh for setting up this interview. As you may know, we've been here for a while. She also set up the interview between BoAcademy.org and Tattoo Chef Inc.'s CFO a few months ago. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out because it was also very insightful and it gave us all a better idea of how the Tattoo Chef team is planning to grow and compete with the likes of Beyond Meat. And of course, I want to thank you all for being here and our subscribers, because without all of you, this would not be possible. And of course, a special thank you to our patrons for supporting the channel and helping us continue to produce more videos for all of us to continue to learn how to invest for the long term. So with all of that said, if you enjoyed the video, like the video below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts below on Subversive Capital, on Caliva, on Left Coast Ventures, on Jay-Z, and on Roc Nation joining this deal to create the parent company, the largest cannabis company on the market. And of course, if you want to help the channel grow and get more access to me and get direct answers to your investment questions, then join us over at patreon.boacademy.org. You'll be able to engage our Discord channel where we share knowledge and discuss the stocks and SPACs that we're all investing in to help one another build our wealth together. And of course, you'll have a chance at winning $200 every month just for being a loyal and engaged patron. So if you're interested in all of that, I hope to see you over at patreon.boacademy.org. I'm Lincoln with boacademy.org. Thank you again and have a great day.